Welcome, Jennifer. I am really, really looking forward to our conversation and learning more about your journey and how you got here. So, can we start with you telling us a little more about what it is that you are doing right now?
Okay, so I'll start with talking about that I am a full-time traveler. Okay, I'm a perpetual traveler now. I have this has been 2 years on the road. Me and my dog. We go off, and it makes it tricky because she can't fly. So it makes it tricky. I have got to put a lot of work into figuring out like how I'm going to do what here, go here, do that. But so I'm a full-time traveler. I'm currently not working full-time in any way, shape, or form. I call it, they have this movement called the FIRE movement, which is about financially independent, retired early.
Okay,
And
okay.
right. So I call myself Fi Solo, right? Because I'm financially independent and I'm solo traveling with the dog. And just figuring out life as it comes along. Because
Okay.
it's not like I don't ever want to work again, but I'm not going to work unless it's fun. And
Okay.
so, and I like being a guide to others. Like my whole career, my whole life has been about working with other people in their careers from early career, human resources, organizational development. That's what I did my whole career. And
Hmm.
so it's been always been about helping other people. And I didn't always apply those same principles to myself because I was working in corporate and I was going up the ladder. And so ultimately, and I'm just go back to your first question, which is what am I doing now? Is I ultimately ended up achieving some results that I really worked hard to get to. But it made it possible for me to start venturing out and doing what I want to do and picking and choosing. And I did it. I'm retired early. I actually retired ahead of schedule than I thought I
Okay.
would. So
Amazing.
yeah, and I'm certified coach. I do a bunch of variety of things now, but I only work. I don't try to like, grow my coaching business to billions of dollars. I just want to work with people on a one-on-one basis and, get them into a place where they feel good about their life, which is why I was so attracted to what you're working on with your podcast. It's just this sense of what's your purpose and how do you feel about it and how can you live your life in the nicest, funnest, soul fulfilling way that you could possibly live it. So that's what I'm doing now.
I love it. So you're living the dream. You are traveling. You're doing what you want, when
Mm-hmm.
you want, with who you want. I mean,
Yes.
this is what Tony Robbins calls freedom.
It's so funny. That is exactly what, like years back when I was doing my coaching certification, one of
Mhm.
the things that they had us do as a exercise was to find out what our highest values for ourselves, what was our highest values.
Okay.
And you went through this exercise and you put all these values down and you numbered what was the most important, what was the least. And no matter how I sliced it, the number one value I had was freedom.
Freedom.
And I just didn't realize that about myself either. I thought it was going to be a relationship. I thought it was going to be this or that or money or, whatever. No, it was all about freedom and satisfaction. And so I just kind of from there just kind of kept thinking, what does that look like for me? And how
Mhm.
can I feel free and happy while I'm doing things?
I
And
love
I want to caveat what you said because I have heard you're living the dream so much while I've traveled, right? The last 2 years, I haven't worked since 2000, the end of 2019,
Okay.
full time. Okay, I
Okay.
do gigs, right? Call myself the gig worker.
Yep.
Um, but I have not really worked. And then during COVID, I was in my mountain house, cocooned the whole time practically. I
Mhm.
did work remote for 6 months there, but the interesting part was everyone's like, you live in the dream. And I have to tell you, and I want everyone to know this because it's so important. The dream is not the achievement of where you've gotten to. The
Okay.
dream is is the journey along the way, because there are days I am living a great life.
Mhm.
Really. There are days I wake up and I go, "Oh, what am I doing?
Mhm.
I'm in what? What am I? I'm in France. I'm in France. I don't know the language. What am I doing in France? I should be home. I should be, whatever, okay?" But it's so it's yes and no. It's where no matter where you go, there you are. You bring yourself and everything that you were worried about and what you were afraid of and what scared you all comes with you.
Yeah.
So you could be miserable working every day, or you can actually be living presently and saying, what is the best thing about my life today? And how do I enjoy that? How do I appreciate that?
Mhm.
And that is huge. And when you can figure that out, every day is an opportunity. Every day.
So I love that because there is this life or the richness of life that, okay, let's say if you're in a job and you wake up anxious, right, stressed in the morning, and so part of it is indication that you might be misaligned, right, in the wrong position, in the wrong company, wrong culture. But what you're saying is that even if you started your own company, so you bring yourself and some of those feelings, and depending on your focus, right, on how you narrate your day, how you look at things, that it will even come, those feelings and sensations and states of being that you might not like can come also into your dream scenarios.
Perfectly said. Absolutely. It comes with you. So you are looking for that, that old phrase, the grass is greener on the other side.
Mhm, mhm.
The grass is green everywhere if you can see it.
The grass is green everywhere if you can see it.
Yes. In other words, they always used to say, like, everyone's always wishing their life to be something different than it is.
Mhm. Something
And
more, right? Something like.
right. And I think that you do want more and you do drive, but it has more to do with how you look at
Mhm,
life
mhm.
that makes it what the quality that it can be. Like, we're the victims or we're not.
Yeah.
And so when you're in victim mode, you really sabotage yourself in many ways. And so it's about trying to find that energy and that peace and that happiness. It does not come overnight, and it takes some epiphanies at different times, but at the same time, practice, practice, practice,
Mhm,
getting present and staying right in where you are and saying every day when you wake up, having that reminder that says, so what's good? What's going to be good today?
mhm,
What am I going to do today? Because work is stressful. Work is stressful. And it's nice to be able to free yourself up and not have to do it. But I'll tell you what, I found new stressors. I have found new stressors. I wake up and I go, oh, I have not looked at my finances for, months because I've been traveling and doing whatever. And I have not looked at my finances. And I think, oh gosh, I should go look at my finances to make sure I
yeah,
didn't, overdo it or whatever. But
mhm,
it's a new stress, right? So we're worried about money
mhm,
before in the work world. I'm
mhm,
not in the work world. Guess what?
mhm.
It's my money mindset. It's not what's happening. I'm still thinking about money.
Yeah. And you can beat yourself up and say, well, you're not working. You should be looking at your finances. You have all the time in the world.
Well,
Jennifer,
exactly.
how dare
Ex-
you?
Exactly. Exactly. But it's amazing that, whatever your personality style is and who you are, is it comes with. So how do you learn how to love who you are, where you are, and what you're doing
Mm,
while you're doing it? And you still make goals and you still achieve. I'm still making goals. I'm trying to figure out I'm in a 3-month planning stage right now where I'm
okay.
going to, yeah, because it's time for me to reassess. What am I going to do? Am I going to travel for the rest of my life? Am I going to buy something? Am I going to buy a business? What am I going to do? And it's fun to be able to do that versus it being a chore,
Right. But it can
right?
become sure, right? It's
We all have a tendency to make things chores. We have
right.
the shoulds. I should do this. I should do that. stop shooting on yourself is what they say, right? Because we don't, our purpose may not be what we think it is. And if we don't know our purpose, why isn't that okay?
Mhm. Well, many
How
of
do,
yeah.
how do we, you know what I mean? Like, uh, my purpose is to live the life for me right now. My purpose right now is to live the life that I have been granted to do so. Like, I don't need to be the famous this, that, or the other thing. I don't have to, I want to write a book, but I'm not ready to write the book yet. So my purpose is to live today
Mhm.
in a healthy, kind, fun, appreciative way. And
Mm.
what does that look like? I'm going to go make sourdough bread because I'm terrible at it. Okay. So that's what it looks like for me today, right? I'm going to go make sourdough and hope that I get
Mhm.
a loaf that spreads out and is big and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
hasn't happened so far, not yet.
Because that can be a process. I think I watched some videos. Some people really get into it,
Yeah.
like, and make it for days.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, really difficult. So who do you work with now? You said that sometimes you work and coach people. So
Yes.
I love that. My purpose now is to live life that I've been granted in a healthy, kind,
Appreciative. Mm-hmm.
appreciative,
Fun.
fun way.
Mm-hmm.
Can you bring that? Okay, so this is almost like, okay, you can wake up, right? And that can be your affirmation, right? That you can ground yourself in no matter what you're doing, right? Or what job you have. But can you then does it matter what you do? Is anything your purpose?
You, the I've always had this, like I said, I worked with other people's careers my whole life, right? And I was in HR and I was in organizational development and I was the one who was supposed to be like, I'm the cheerleader of the workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would always talk to people and learned as I was doing this that you manage your own morale, that you're the only one who can manage how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, my purpose then was to, and it always kind of has been to help other people around me feel good about their lives. I feel bad when people don't feel good about their lives
Mm.
because there's no reason to feel bad about your life. Even if you have illness and sickness, we've seen some pretty happy people who live with really debilitating chronic illnesses.
Mm.
And yet you see their testimonials and some of them say this is the best thing that could have happened to me.
Mm.
Right? You're like, what? You're in a wheelchair. What do you mean? Right? They're like, no, really, my life is better now than it was then because I now have a view of what potential is out there for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is really where it comes down to is what potential do you have? And the
Mm-hmm.
potential is, did I step into my potential today? Did I step over here and try something different? Did I stay in my comfort zone and not do something new and exciting? That's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all okay, but that's part of the purpose. Like for me, my current purpose is to evaluate what makes me feel good energetically. What
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have freedom? And what does freedom mean to me? My freedom is I am free. I have freedom. Do I forget that sometimes? Yes, because I think, oh, I should get a, like we talked about already. I should get a podcast going. I
This and that,
should,
infinite
right.
possible.
And I have to do this with myself. Stop.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to do anything. And
Uh-huh.
it's okay to be you exactly the way you are. When
Mm.
I do that,
Mm.
it opens up my chest cavity with gratitude. I feel my heart fills because I'm like, I'm okay right now. I'm okay right now. And so that kind of opens the door to allowing things to come into my life
Mm.
that that create more purpose for me. right? I went to cooking school in September in
Okay.
Ireland. Okay.
Wow.
And I'm like, that sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to go to cooking school because I think that that's important for me to do because I've always liked cooking. So maybe maybe I'll open up a shop or something, right? So here's more purpose, right?
Mhm.
I went into that cooking school and it was a 5-week full-time course and I loved it. However, I was like, oh, I am not doing this for a living. It is too hard. You know what I mean? So, but it's trial and error.
So
And
you
I
have to
learned
try
something,
things.
right? And so I learned something. And people say, well, you're brave. You're so brave. I am brave. But bravery doesn't come because I was born with bravery. Bravery comes by taking those baby steps over the line. Like, I don't like to go out to eat by myself. I live eating by myself. Okay. Sometimes people invite me to things and they are like, come to dinner with us. And I'm like, nah, I think I'm going to stay home. And then I go, I'm going to dinner at that restaurant down the street all by myself because I love it. But it wasn't like the first day I did that. I didn't go like, here I am in the restaurant, loving eating by myself. It was baby steps,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's
So I know that didn't really answer your question, the question about what my purpose is now, but my purpose is honestly just to live the life I've been granted.
yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you're exploring yourself, right? Like you said, you're researching what makes you feel good, right? What you like. You're trying these things, right? So much of the purpose when you don't know, sometimes you do have to try, right? And then you get the clarity. Like, yeah, I was really, really into health and, organic foods and supplements and these water filters, and all the things, but then I didn't really like. I realized I even went to get a coaching certification in a specific modality, but then when I was around the people who did the health coaching and kind of the level that they were talking at, I realized I had no interest to do it, like to dive that deep and to make all day my day about this thing. It was all going over my head, and I was like, I clear like, no, this is like something that's important to my life, right? As a part of being a CEO of my life, right? And my son's health, your families, and how you can help yourself and help your friends, but that it's not necessarily that it will be fun for you to do as a profession, as your life's task.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. I say be careful what you wish for because I'm telling you, my biggest thing is don't wish your life away. We need to not wish our lives away. We need to just have a wish and then see, is that possible? Can I try that? Can I do that? Should I do that? And sometimes it's just a little thing. I had a friend who didn't go and do anything by herself. I mean, I'm seriously like, I do everything by myself, like too
Scary.
much. I have to really force myself to not, right? But that hasn't always been me. I just evolved into this person who enjoys my time with me. But she didn't do a lot of things and she really wanted to. Sounds really small, okay? It sounds really tiny, but this is what's important about it. She wanted to go to a petting zoo. Okay. She's a grown woman. She's in her 50s. Okay. And she wanted to go to a petting zoo. She couldn't find anybody to go with her. And so she felt stupid because people would give her feedback that was like, you want to go to a petting zoo? Right. And she's like, but she really wanted to go. She loves animals. So she writes me a message. It's one of the girls I have worked with in the past. And she sends me a message and she says, you won't believe what I did. She said, you're inspiring me. She said, I went and bought tickets to the petting zoo and I'm going all by myself. I don't care what anybody says. And I don't care if it's all children there and me, the grown woman, I'm going. But for her, it was right. That's what I did. Right. I did that. I went because it was something small, but she was so proud of herself and she felt so good. And that's what it's about. How good do you feel? And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be something very small. But once you have that good feeling energy, more attracts based off of that. Other good things roll out of that. And that is just something that, for me, that's I want people to feel fine about who they are.
Mm.
And because that's when the greatness starts to come. That's when the things you were looking for start to show up, because you start to see new things with new eyes. And
I
that
love
is and then really that's what happened to me. That's where I am now, because I saw that I'm not a I didn't come from money, I didn't come from, I'm also not I'm an average regular person.
Yeah, you have to tell us how you got where you are at, because like many people, like you said, they will think it is a dream, right? Because
Right.
I will say I can relate to you. One of my top values is freedom, right? The top five, seven values, how you look at it, that exercise, right? When you narrow
Yes.
it down. And I think for many people, when they are in working for somebody, right? When they're working for a company, a part of that longing, a part of that feeling of misalignment, something not missing, yearning for something more, is the fact that they feel like that longing for more freedom, and they feel like they have to put themselves in this box, and they can't fully express themselves, right? They can
Yes.
bring their full gifts and talents and fully kind of authentically be themselves. I mean, in a healthy, obviously professional ways, but they feel this constriction, right?
Yes.
So, how tell us about your journey of how you got here, because I know you were in corporate.
I was, and I loved it. Okay. I really did. I loved
Okay.
my job, my whole career. And I've always had this underlying, I come from, it isn't like I look at my life and think it was horrible and it wasn't grandiose. It was just regular, right? We had to, I came from a divorced family and, step parents that didn't really care for. And my mom got remarried, had a second batch of kids. And, we didn't have a lot of money and we lived in, regular, nothing fancy. So I was brought up that way. My older sister and I were the first college graduates in our family, right? There was no that generationally, nobody had gone and finished college. My dad ultimately did finish his undergrad, but he was 50 when he finished it. But again, there's that, but the interesting part was that I was a terrible student,
Mhm.
terrible. Okay. So I tell my high school class, the graduating class, when we get together at like a reunion or something, I always tell them you're welcome, because I made the top half possible, because I was such a poor student, you know what I mean? So anybody was above me, I'm like, you're welcome. Yeah. But so I had my chance of what I was going to get in for college and stuff, and that was, you had to go to college, right? You got to go, or you better find a career that, carries you if you don't. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get to college, you know what I mean? But so I started to adopt this idea about myself that I would find back doors
Okay.
to success,
Okay.
because I couldn't go in the front door because I didn't have the pedigree, the resume, the GPA,
Yes.
so I was going to find the back doors to get in, because I was a clever, scrappy person who was,
I love
and
that. I've never heard it said that way. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I decided that I'll find the back doors. I love that.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I started to operate, is when you make a decision like that, you start to see things that you didn't see before. So I
Mhm.
started to see opportunities by, like, oh, I'm in this department, I'm in this department working, right? I got my corporate job. When I first got out of school, I was not a great student, even in college. So I did much better my last half, but I started work, believe it or not, my first job was as a credit collector. I was a collections person. Okay. Now, the only reason I got that job was because in college I had done some phone work. You know what I mean? So really, okay. So I thought, but when I went to the job, I said, "Oh yeah, no, I worked on the phones for whatever," and so I got into that. But then, it was, I only could do that for a little while, but I was very successful and I was interacting with people and I realized that I'm really good with dealing with people,
Okay.
so I thought, well, what job is going to allow me to interact and have lots of conversations with people that isn't staying on the phone all day? So, so I ended up through Backdoor, starting out as an administrative assistant. Then I started working in someone's workshops, and then someone, with my personality and the way I was, a person said, you should do some public speaking.
Okay.
And they said, we have training and development. And we will give you a job over in our training and development spot. And I was like, okay. So I went over and did that, but that wasn't HR, that wasn't career stuff, but I fell into it because I had my eyes open for what would that look like next. And so the next job I applied for, they asked if I had any human resources experience. And I know that within that realm, training and development is part of human resources,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and I had done some leadership training, right? So I was like, I do leadership training for human resources and da 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 da. And so they kind of said, well, come on in, we'll teach you the other parts. And next thing I know, I got this guy saying, one of the bosses saying, we need a manager. Do you want to try that out? And I'm like, I've never done this part, that part, this part, that, but yeah, I would love to try it out.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so I became very successful um over the years, but it was because of my ability to interact with people and that kind of thing. But I backdoored it. I moved to Maine. Okay. And again, this is the mentality, and this is the adventure. I grew up in Connecticut my whole life. My whole family is still in Connecticut. Everybody lives there. So this is where I come from, right? You don't move. Okay. You don't move. Okay. Now I'm a full-time traveler, and I, you don't move.
Rebel.
Okay. So I was like in the bubble, and I was like, well, I'm moving to Maine. And they're like, you're doing what? And I'm like, well, I'm doing good in my career, but it's very competitive here in Connecticut, and it's really challenging. And because I know I should go in the back door, I thought I'm going to go to Maine because it's very small.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of big corporations. I've worked for some big corporations already. So I'm going to go to Maine and start applying at the big corporations because they're going to want someone who worked in big corporations in Connecticut and is going to do blankety blank. So that is what I did. And I was one of these people in Maine who got to work at all of the big corporations that we have.
Mhm, mhm.
And I called it I'm going to be a big fish in a small pond.
Mhm, mhm. Well, what made you think that? Like, what made you come to that decision?
I it's all based on how you are thinking about what you want to do. Like, it's keeping your eyes open and seeing the opportunities, right? My philosophy was I got to backdoor this stuff. So
So
when
you
it came
wanted
to
to
me,
advance? You wanted to
so
advance your career? Is that why you were?
yeah, that's why I did it. Yeah, because I wanted, and I also uh, caveat, I also went to school in Montana. So that was my first leaving Connecticut thing, and I did it on purpose because I wanted to go see what it was like to live somewhere else besides New England. And so when I went to Montana, it was amazing nature wise. And
Okay.
so I spent a lot of time outside. And when I went back to Connecticut, I was like, this is not enough.
Mhm.
So that's why I started going to Maine, because I had a friend who lived in Maine, and I went up and I would go skiing and go hiking and do all that stuff. And I remember saying one day to her, I said to her, and I had ex-boyfriends in Connecticut, and I was like, I gotta get out of Connecticut. So I go
Else
to
was
her,
calling you, right? You had that connection with nature or something, it sounds like
yes,
in
and I
Montana.
still do, yes,
There was like something was calling you. There was some kind of inner guidance
yes.
or pull, it sounds
Well,
like.
that's what I'm talking about, right? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's that energy and that, like, what you put out. If you make a mini goal for yourself, the things show up and you start seeing them without looking for them. Like,
But
you don't know.
had you put out anything, or was it just kind of this call?
It was this is one of the things that's very interesting. That's why I always try to challenge people with it, because you have to listen to yourself. You have
Mhm.
to listen to yourself. It's not something external calling you. It's you on the inside who's letting you know what you can do and what you're capable of. And so
Yeah,
for
like your
me,
inner guidance, your
yes, the
intuition.
inner guidance. And for me, I believe in the law of attraction and abundance and high frequency and quantum physics and all that stuff now very much. I didn't know what it was when I was younger. But when I would make a statement to myself that, and I do it now, I have all these phrases that I use, and they're almost like they're guiding lights. And when I said I'm going to go in the back door to be successful, that stuck with me internally. I wasn't like every day going, I'm going in the back door, I'm going in the back door. It just stuck with me. And so that's where I started to see opportunities. And so for corporate stuff, yes, I was thinking, here's my salary. I'm in a pond, a big pond of people. The chance of me becoming that supervisor or that leader is not going to be as good here. So where might I do what I need to do corporate wise? So when I moved to Maine, I was only going to go for 2 years, and I was going to leave and go get another job in a city somewhere.
Okay.
I never did. I stayed in Maine all those years because I was very successful in Maine. But it was that little voice that said, go in the back door of things. And for me, being a big fish in a little pond was very satisfying. I found great careers. My ability to impact other people was really in my face. Like it was so good because it was there. It's not a big population in Maine. So you know people, you meet people, you help people, you see their success. It's a small community, you know?
Mhm.
So that I think is what the calling was, it's always been the same theme for me. If you look back when I was 16 years old, I was trying to help people and make people laugh. Then it's always this helping. I'm a person of service. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's my I guess that's my calling, right? But it's interesting because I went to Maine and I didn't devise this plan since I was in my 20s, right? I don't have everything scripted out in my life all these years.
And that's why I wanted to ask, because I mean, law of attraction is just one of, there's like other universal laws, and
Yes.
it's not like it's just the one thing to live by. And I was asking because I can very much relate, because I'm
Yes.
not originally from United States. I'm from a
Right.
small country in Eastern Europe called Latvia.
Yeah, Latvia. Yeah.
Yeah, and in high school, I mean, it was like against all odds, right? Like I had no relatives in United States. I really didn't have any financial backing. And there was a seed that was planted, like it was like blinders on, this calling for United States. Like if
Right.
you had told my grandmothers who spent most of their lives in Soviet Union, after the Russia occupation of
Yes.
Latvia and the other countries, um, it was like outside of their reality, outside of their anything that they thought would be possible, right? Or that
Yes.
they would have even imagined, thought of, had even not even one small thought like that, right? And I'm like, I can start crying because I could just like, so there are these things that if we listen, they don't make any sense, but it's like a call on your soul, right?
Hmm.
It's like something, and then you're like, you just do it like blinders on.
Yes. 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 And that's and I think that's what's interesting because you know, the path is not maybe for some people it might be some people they have like it all mapped out, they know where they're going, they know how to get there, they know. That has never been me, right? It's never been a clear like whatever, but yes, the inner voice has always been telling me that feels right, go do that.
And I think your
And
inner voice also came up with that mantra, right? With that was your guidance, that was that bigger
yes.
intelligence inside of you.
Yes. And
And
if
so,
I had, and I almost think, I've done great and I'm very happy with my life. I almost think I would have done so much more. And that's why I reassess because I still have so much more to do. But I'm not letting fear be my showstopper
mm,
because when I was younger, I would hear the voices of reason from all the people around me who I trusted their judgment and I trusted their opinions. And I would say to myself, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? You're crazy. You're going to fail and everybody's going to see you fail and they're all going to go like, yep, that Jennifer. Oh, that Jennifer. And then I kept being more successful. And when I didn't listen to them and I listened to me,
Mm.
I would step into something and it would be successful. And I remember my dad, and my dad loves me very much and he's very proud of me, but he is still, we just talked for hours yesterday arguing over money. Okay. Because I have too many highfalutin ideas about what I want to do with, and he's like, you know, scarcity comes in and
Be
fear.
practical.
Yeah, be practical. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna not be practical. I think I might do some things and I might fail. And if I do, well, I don't know, someone will take care of me. You know what I mean? Remember, I'm all by myself and I have been. So I'm a solo person. Now it helps that I don't have children and stuff for me. However, I've never had another like option, right? I had to do it for me. I didn't have another income. I didn't ever been married. I didn't have, so it was always like self-reliance. That's scary
You are very
because,
brave. Yes, you are.
but that's really scary. So you kind of like try to draw in the lines, but you know what? You have to, that if I didn't have that, I'm so grateful that I have that inner voice, but we all have it. But sometimes we push our inner voice down so far that we don't even know it's our inner voice anymore. We don't know what voice it really is. It feels like the little kid inside going, do you remember me? Do you remember me? We had a dream. Remember? We had a dream. Oh, shut up, you 7-year-old. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, yeah, that's your inner voice that's saying, please hear me. You have things to do. So and like I said, back in the day, none of this energetic, the laws of the universe, my spiritualness, all this stuff, none of that existed out loud because it was not, you just didn't talk about those things, right? You didn't. So for me, it was always kind of like, my inner voice is telling me, now I know, looking back, now I know that we really are human form, but our souls are bigger than our human form. And we are here for a reason.
Mm.
And we may never figure out that reason that we're here. We may never figure it out because why would we? We wouldn't be here trying to figure it out if we knew what it was.
We're the playground.
So that's what it is. And so that's why I said it doesn't matter where you are, it matters how you are dealing with where you are. And then when you let go of that victimization and scarcity and the fear, doesn't mean it's going to be gone. It just means that you get a handle on it and you start being less afraid of your fear than your fear wants you to be, right? So, you're like, wait a minute, I'm scared. That scares me. Hey, I guess I should go do that then because it scares me. And I'll just start a little tiny bit. I'll just touch it. Just touch it. Touch my fear. Oh, it didn't hurt me. I'm okay. And
Yeah.
that to me has been my mode of operandi.
Mm.
And
It's
over
because
the
what
years,
is
it's
your
gotten bigger
what
and bigger, you know?
like people can think of what is your petting zoo? What is that one thing that you can do that you're afraid of? Like if you feel that something is missing, right? You're yearning
Yes.
for something more. Okay, you don't have to quit tomorrow, right? What is that
Yes.
one thing? Maybe it is you can start a podcast on the side. There's really no consequences to that, right? There's
Correct.
really nobody's gonna fire you tomorrow because of that, right?
Yes.
Or you can um, say, I will try out coaching people, coaching them. Like if you have an idea, just that's kind of that trial thing that also the cooking school that you were talking about, right? And
Right.
just and you build that muscle, I guess, right? Doing that one thing, or even interviewing, right? Going and interviewing for
Yes.
a different
Practice. Go
a different
on
job.
purpose. Yeah, go on purpose. People who aren't even looking for new jobs right now. Guess what? Go apply for a job and go on an interview. Go
Yeah.
see what it feels like. You have a job. You're not even really trying to move on your job. Go play in that field. Go get an interview somewhere. And just to sit and have an interview because it's an engaging conversation. You learn you have nothing to lose. You start to learn like, hey, guess what? I get to ask my potential employer questions. So how is the work environment?
Mhm.
What's your turnover rate? How many people leave? Are you losing a lot of people these days based on at post-COVID? You get to ask them questions that you've always wanted to ask your employer because it's not your employer. You're just interviewing. But you know what I'm saying? To me, that is actually incredible skill building.
Yeah.
Like, right? You just everything you're doing is building your muscle in every way.
Yeah.
So, if you don't go out to dinner by yourself, go out to dinner by yourself. Bring a
Mhm.
book if you need to. It's okay. Honestly, go to a diner, go to a counter, go do something, go for a coffee first, all by yourself. Just
Mhm.
go and sit and don't even judge yourself. Just go do it. And then the next thing you know is like, I went in for coffee and you know what I saw? I was looking out the window and I saw that those dogs run by and I saw that family fighting in the car and I saw the whatever and it was so interesting and fun. And the next thing you know is you're like, I'm going to go out for coffee by myself again because that was good. And I had some great thoughts and I felt really, you know, proud of myself and that's stuff that just gets you to do more things. I mean, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to like you don't have to know the end result, but just like by doing something different. If there's something, I mean, I will say like travel, like for me, solo traveling, it's one of those things that I like that feels kind of scary or something. So you can start even with like going to a beach, like for overnight trip or going to the
Yes.
mountains, right? And I
Yes.
think something about being by yourself is like we avoid even when we do have time, then we will spend it on consuming social media like content, right? Scrolling, watching TV. It's like, and that is kind of the disconnect, furthering the disconnect also with that. It's kind of like we want to know our purpose, but we run from being with ourselves when that voice comes actually, when you can hear yourself.
When you can hear yourself, exactly. You can go to a hotel, go to a cheap hotel in your own town and stay overnight and have the dinner at the restaurant in the hotel. That way you can kill two birds with one stone. You went out to eat by yourself and you traveled alone, but you're in your own town. You're not going to get like, you know, murdered and killed in your own whatever it is that you're afraid of, right? You know what I mean? And then you're also, if you hate it, you can go home because you stayed at one of the cheap places that had it wasn't like a super duper expenditure. You but it actually is so interesting because most people don't do any touristing in their own town at all.
Hmm.
Like you can talk to someone who lives somewhere forever and you're like, when was the last time you went to that museum? And people are like, I haven't been there since I was in seventh grade. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very typical.
So to me, it's the little things and the muscle builds and you start seeing opportunities and it exponentially grows, right? So when it might be just one little thing, like they always say, um, make one tiny move and you'll be surprised at how much it changes things.
I love that,
And
right? It's
it
like a
gets bigger
snowball.
and bigger. So it exponentially grows when you do something small because then it gets bigger the next time. And then the next time it's that much bigger. And I would not have been able to tell you in 2020, right? It wasn't COVID that prompted all this for me, right? A lot of people, COVID has created a lot of initiative and a lot of energy, but I had already kind of done that. But if you had asked me in 2020, would I be traveling full time since the end of 2021, um, by myself with having no possessions left? Like I sold everything, no
Wow.
home. I don't have a home to go home to. So if you had said that to me at my 20-year-old self, my 20-year-old self probably would have believed it more than my 50-year-old self. Do you know what I mean? So I, it was I on purpose and again, it was the evolution of me, right? So when my career started to get to the point where the corporations were selling to each other one after the other, and they stopped really letting me do my service to others, it was becoming you have to move to this location, you have to stay on the phone, and they can call you if they need you. You can't really go out in the field and meet them and do whatever. I was like, this is not going to work for me anymore. And I don't want to do this job till I'm 65, because if it's going to be like this, it's not going to be fun. So I could either start a new career or I could do something different. So I kind of made a decision back when I was in my mid 40s. I said, I'm going to try and aim for retiring at 58. That's what I wanted to do, right? I thought I'd do it early because I couldn't picture myself doing it for until 65. But I also knew, knowing me, that I can actually look for opportunities and figure out what would make me feel good while I'm aiming for the retirement at 58.
Yeah.
And so I decided to make 2-year plans, 2-year increments.
Okay.
And that's what I started to do. And so as soon as I made that first 2-year plan, still working for the same organization, still trying to manage my own morale, which I told everybody all their lives, you choose how you feel. So, and I know the struggle when it doesn't feel right and you're in it. It's very difficult to manage your own morale, but that's when I started to find other things, which people do, other things that make me feel good and gave me a sense of freedom. The world delivers when you make a decision to be happy and well. Do those decisions, because then the world delivers.
Mm.
Somebody came to me out of the blue and said, we're going to start a TV station in our town, and we want you to be one of the talk show hosts because you just are so good with interacting with people and stuff like that. And I went, what? You want me to what? I did that for a year and a half and loved it. Okay. But it was only part-time. They worked around my schedule at work. So, but if you had said to me, you're going to be a talk show host, I would have been like, no, I'm not. Right. So these are the kind of things that the world delivered to me during that process. They actually paid me.
Okay.
So I made a little extra cash while I was doing that. You know what I mean? While I was working. And
So
so
what
that
is your
became,
plan? You said you were doing these 2-year plans
yeah,
and
2-year plans, because I wanted to reassess. Yeah, just like I'm doing right now. I like to stop and assess. How am I doing? How happy am I? What's feeling like it's missing? Do I have what I need? What steps do I want to take next? And I don't do them like out in the world today. You have do you want to be an entrepreneur or start your own thing and get out there and make more money so you can quit your day job? I'm all about quitting your day job. Okay. But I'm only about quitting your day job if you have a good plan and you feel good about it and you're not in scarcity and you're not afraid. Like you're not panicking because you're going to go under unless you make that sale. So for me, it was not, it was the slow roll, right? So for me, it was 2-year plans at a time. So, and I picked 2 years arbitrarily at the time because I thought, well, I want to make sure I'm not jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing. So let me just assess. And so the first thing was, I said, I'm going to stay in my job. I'm going to work on my morale. I'm going to try to find opportunities within the organization that might actually, you know, make me feel better about and make me feel like I'm doing service like I've always committed to doing. And that was when 6 months into that 2 years, that's when the guy showed up with the TV station thing going, hey, you want to be and I was like, oh my gosh, I do. So that was like a way to channel my freedom, my fun, feel good. And it made work that much easier because I was doing something that I really was enjoying. And then, so that carried me for a while. And then at 2-year mark, right, as I'm reassessing, I get a call from Denmark, Copenhagen, and they're saying, because I worked for an international corporation, and they call me up and they say, we're starting a new facility in Denmark. We want you to go to Denmark. Would you be willing to go there for 3 months and work in Denmark for, helping us get people acclimated to the new site? And I'm like, yeah, but I work here. And they're like, it's okay. We'd rather you do that. It'll help us. Da, 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 da. So I moved to Denmark for 3 months. I mean, I was like, what's going on here? But that was again, so I went there, all expenses paid, right? To Denmark for 3 months with an apartment, a car, a business, meeting new people, working for the same company. Opportunities show up if you are really in the right energy for yourself. If you're in scarcity and you're in victim mode and you're angry and you're stressed, doesn't mean that stuff doesn't show up. But if you live it, if that's what you're living, you've got to change it up, because you've got to get out of that, because you won't see the opportunities and you'll be afraid of the opportunities and they won't even look like opportunities. You've
Mhm.
got to get that angst. Your chest can't feel heavy. Sunday night stress is the worst stress in the world. Everybody afraid to go to work on Monday. If you're feeling like that now,
Mhm.
you have to ask yourself some hard questions,
Yeah.
right? It's not watching television. It's not having a drink, right? It's not having happy hour that lasts until you have to go to bed, right? That's not it. It's not it, right? It's not overeating. It's not eating constantly. It's getting out in nature. It's getting to know yourself. It's going to therapy. It's getting a coach. I don't have money for a coach. Okay, don't pay for a coach then. Go to seminars, go online, do look at some of these things that help you, but then put them in action. What's your action plan? A little bit at a time. Go to the petting zoo, right? It's those little things. And that's where you build off that muscle that you were talking about. And that's to me is, like I said, I'm just a regular person, and I'm traveling the world with my dog, figuring that out too. I mean, we went on the Queen Mary 2 to go to the UK. I was in there. I just got back from that side of the pond. I was there for 6 months.
Wow.
Uh, speaking of, my dog just started barking. She heard me. But yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this is, people are like, you're living my dream. I'm like, Jennifer is living the dream, really? Hey, that's enough. Barking at the neighbors. But anyway, so I think that is, it just touches the surface, but
Mhm.
it's a big deal. Hey, I'm
Oh.
sorry if she's gonna mess with your noise. Come here, come here. So anyway, but it's just interesting to me because I hope my enthusiasm is not like scary to people,
No.
because to me it's just, I'm so excited for other people to
Mhm.
feel good about what they're doing, because if they can feel half as good as me, life is good.
I love that. And it sounds like you felt good about your career in HR
I
up
loved it.
until a certain point, but then kind of something changed.
Yeah, the bigger the corporation, the harder it is to, if you're in human resources, like if you're doing something different and whatever, I mean, I can't speak for every role, but I do know that the less you feel like you count or that you matter, the less you feel satisfied. If you're looking for external people to make you feel satisfied, then that's part of the battle that you have to go through, because it's really about finding your own internal peace and happiness, and the other people don't matter. I had a therapist once who said to me, it was about breaking up with an ex, and she had said to me, I want you to be, she goes, at some point you'll be okay with this, you'll get over this, and you'll be indifferent to the person, right? You'll be indifferent. And I said to her, oh, I don't want to be indifferent. I want to be well and happy. I want to love that person for the way I loved him, and not be with him and not feel sad that I'm not with him anymore. I want to feel good that I did have the opportunity to love him and
Mhm.
that I enjoyed that. I said, I don't want to be indifferent to him. He's a human being. And when people start feeling that people are indifferent to them, and you start feeling indifferent to others, you're
Mhm.
losing your soul.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of the kind of that egg, the missing, and to your point, like there are plenty of HR people who are unhappy within what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they're mechanical, and they don't even, people are like HR, they're worthless. You know what I mean? And I'm like, when that was not my
Mhm.
That was not how I worked. You know, for me, I'd be sitting with you at work and you'd be having a frustration. And I'm pretty frank about stuff. I'd be like, so you're frustrated. So guess who's frustrated? You are. Nobody else is frustrated like you are because you're the one that's frustrated. So who's going to fix your frustration? Your workplace? Your
Mhm.
workplace is not designed to fix your frustration. You
Mhm.
have to fix your frustration.
Mhm.
But the workplace is insensitive. It is indifferent. It's not human.
Mhm.
So it's never going to deliver what it needs to deliver for people. But we have to decide if it's not aligned with who we are and it
Mhm.
doesn't feel good, we have to figure out what's our next move. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow. And if you recognize and relax into the fact that you don't have to do everything by tomorrow,
Mhm.
you actually start to feel a little better about where you are because you can relax into change. Change
Mhm.
does not have to be overnight.
How do you did you ever put the pressure on yourself, right? Because there is that tendency, okay, you want that change, you want to fix it.
Yes, I really did. But I also knew from my experiences all those years helping other people with their careers. That's why I said I had to learn to apply it to myself as well. Because if you are reacting and you're taking action out of reaction,
Mhm.
you are not necessarily taking action that is for your higher good.
Mhm.
So the faster you knee jerk react, it's like when you have a car accident, um, you get whiplash, right?
Mhm.
Because your body can't move that fast and function.
Mhm.
If you are doing whiplash in your actions for your life, then
Mhm.
your body and your mind and your heart and your soul doesn't know how to react that fast. And so, and to me, life is an evolution. You take your time and find the gems in your moments.
Mhm.
And when you get that, it spreads. And pretty much you're walking around with 12 carats on every finger. You know what I mean? Because you found the gems. And I think that that's really, you know, take your time, give yourself a chance. I'm older now, right? I'm now 57.
Mhm.
I ended up being ready to retire, right? At
Before you're
53. I was 53. Okay. So I was ahead of schedule, right? 5 years. I was going to 58. So I've been out since 53. But it wasn't because I rolled into money all of a sudden. It wasn't like all of a sudden, like, oh, everything. But I saw the opportunities where they were because I had trained my mind from my mid 40s to look for opportunities to go in the back door. You know, like I said, you come up with your own mantras, right? But to me, that was, um, you know, taking my time and learning how to enjoy me and like myself more, using the tools was just incredible. And I know people don't have time. They don't feel like they have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. Yeah. What else you got? You know, what else do you have? Time is the only thing we really can count on.
Mhm.
And we might not have long,
Mhm.
but it's still about our time. So if you're going to die tomorrow, do you want to die as stressed as you were on Sunday night drinking your booze?
Mhm.
Or do you want to
Live a
be
different life.
happy with the fact that you're still on the planet today and you go to bed at night going, today was a good day?
Mm.
And how do you make that happen? And people will be like, yeah, it's easy to say because you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have this, you don't have this stress, that stress.
Yeah.
Honey, we all have stress. And we all know what we've got. So it's all about getting into yourself a little more. I fought with a woman, fought with a client, okay? Because we ended up working together because she was so angry at me. Because I
Okay.
said to her, you don't have time. And as much as we meet with each other, and I talk to you about, well, what time will you find? What part will you carve out so you can talk to yourself and be kind to yourself and find and think about different ways of living that aren't working for you right now? She would resist because she wanted me to say, here you go. Here it is. That's the answer. Take it, run with it. You've got the answer now. And
Mm,
I said to her, it just is not going to happen that way. You have to figure out your own plan. I can help you along the way. But if you really don't believe it's true, there's your first step. Your first step is understanding that you actually can find a freeing moment, a way to feel better, but you have to believe it yourself. I can't help you believe that.
mm,
And that's something that everybody's got to work with is how do you feel about your life, and what are your best things and what are your worst things, and how do you focus more on your best things and make more of those
mm.
instead of focusing on the worst things, and not, without charging your credit card to the max and buying a boat that you don't need.
So let me ask you this. If somebody's sitting, right, and they're in their 30s or even 40s, right?
Mhm.
They have developed a career by all outside standards. They check the boxes, they are making good money, they have the title, they're successful. But inside themselves, they feel like they're shrinking, right? That they're and they might even start feeling the anxiety symptoms, right? The different feelings of nervousness, anxiousness, right? That you have to make yourself to do the job, right? To show up for the job. And um, like there's this something missing, and there's also this energy drain, right? That's
Yes.
happening, or it gets harder and harder. And what would be the one step, like the first step they can take to figure out what should they do next?
First thing they first thing, if that's how you feel in your life, right? If someone's feeling that way, and believe me, the first thing you can do for yourself is to acknowledge that you have more to offer, because you wouldn't have those feelings if you didn't have a road ahead of you that was going to include more things, right? So you don't have to stay on the track you're on. You don't have to stay in that track. You don't abandon ship, because that's a mistake for most people. Okay. It's a mistake. Then they regret it and they still feel bad. But the whole thing is the first thing to do is to acknowledge, wait a minute, if I think I'm meant for more, your soul's telling you you're meant for more. It's okay. Give yourself permission to actually be okay with the fact that you feel that way, because other people get scared of that and they start to feel like they're wasting their life. You're not wasting your life. Everything you're doing now is on the road to getting you where you need to go.
Mm,
So everyone tries to force it, force it, force it. Don't force it.
mm,
Accept where you are, acknowledge it, understand it, feel good about it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. It's acceptance. Acceptance is huge. I
mm.
am in a place right now that I don't like. I'm not feeling good. I have to fake it with everybody. Everyone thinks I'm doing okay, but in the inside, I feel horrible. I'm getting depressed. I'm drinking too much. I'm taking Valium. I'm eating. There's a lot of addictive stuff. I go to the gym constantly.
And if I
Whatever.
stayed for 2 hours, or I need to like go for a walk, like I need to do all these things to recover.
Right. And there's some that are healthier and some that are not, right? So
They
and
can
and there's
become
all about a right. So going out for a walk is not terrible. If you can't miss it because you're addicted to it, that's a problem. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's a variety of things. So when the old phrase was everything in moderation, it's it's think about, but that's what the first thing a person can do is knowing that they feel that way. The first thing is acknowledge that you feel that way and forgive yourself for feeling that way. Love yourself for feeling that way. Feel lucky that you feel that way because you have more to do. So that's cool. That's good. Make it good. It's okay. And then the second thing, which again, that sounds like a ridiculous step, but it's not. It's actually stopping and saying, I am fighting my own feelings, which is why I feel so bad. You don't fight your own feelings. You accept your own feelings. And that makes you feel like it's what's wrong with feeling this way? it means I get to change. It means I get to do some different things. So that acknowledgement's huge. But then the second thing to do is to actually take out, I know people say like, whether they with a pen or whatever, but yeah, take a journal out. I don't care what you do. Take a piece of paper, write on the back of an envelope. I don't care. Write down the things that are feeling uncomfortable. Write them down. Make a list. This is uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable. This feels like crap. I hate this. I don't like that person. I don't even want to work there because of this person. You write everything down. I call it, this is going to sound horrible, okay? But this is me, okay?
Okay.
I'm not a classy chick, okay? I say puke on the page.
Okay, okay.
Okay, because you want to write everything down that is pouring out of you. Let it all come out. Then after you write all the icky stuff that's going on, you also then write, here's what I think. This is when I'm fantasizing, right? Fantasizing about what would be better in my life. Write all those things down to it. If you can't do it in the same sitting because you've already gotten yourself in this negative zone of everything I hate. But once you get that everything I hate out of you, it gives room and space for the things that you want to do, that you think you want to do, that you think you'd like to do. And you just write them all down as well. Everything. Just put it all down and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And some of it you write down and you go, oh, please, who do you think you are? That is crazy. But you do it anyway. And
Uh-huh.
then that's creating that vision. It's creating vision for yourself. It doesn't mean you make I don't say like right then go like, oh, now I'm going to make a plan, right? No, you may not make the plan that day. Okay. But what it does is it just gave you the vision to start seeing other ways of where you want to go,
Mhm.
but it's also giving you some vision into the things that you're awfulizing. Like we awfulize things.
Yeah, I like it.
Right? So, work gets worse every day when you awfulize it. It will get worse and worse and worse and worse. And it gets polarized where work is north, you're south. There's no equator. You need to bring yourself back to an equator
Mhm.
mentality. You want to go meet in the middle a little bit because you're not all right either. So when
Mhm.
the more we awfulize, we become indignant about our unhappiness and whose fault is it?
Oh, it's like we make the work the bad guy and then we
Correct.
justify it. Okay.
Correct. So you have to go in your own head and go, all right, so where am I the one who's causing this stuff for myself? You know?
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's your first step. I mean, those are the first steps because you've got to get real with yourself
Mhm.
without being hard on yourself. Like,
Damn.
right? Right?
You have to get real with yourself
Without,
without being hard on yourself. That is the truth.
yep. It's true. We're not we're our worst we are hardest on ourselves than anybody else.
Yeah.
And you learn this as you go. And like I said, it's a jumble of things. You just have to trust that, yes, I do want other things and I will get other things. And I'm not stuck here for the rest of my life doing this.
Mm.
Doors will open, opportunities will come. I just need to like, what do I need to do this year? We're in January. This is the perfect time to be doing it.
Mhm.
I'm going to take the next 90 days to March, whatever, and I'm going to think about what are the 5 things that I want to do to raise the level of happiness in my life. And what are those things? And
Mhm.
someone might answer to themselves, I think I need therapy. Then go get therapy. If you have insurance, go do it. If you don't have insurance, then go online and find the online therapist that does it for free, or go to your town and say, hi, where are the services that I can actually go get a therapist and somebody else actually pays the bill for me, you know, and then, or find a cheap coach or find a friend, not a friend. I don't mean a friend like a best friend. I mean, go find a friend who will exchange those that resonates with you, that you can exchange ideas, that they're trying to get out of their mess, you're trying to get out of your mess, so let's go have an exchange. Let's go out to coffee and have that conversation once a week and talk about what we're doing to change our lives today.
I love that.
You know what
I
I mean? It's just it's not rocket science. It's just not quick either.
I love that. I think you've shared so many gems, so many whatever the gold carrot shiny things that you were
And I don't wear any rings.
so many bling blings. But how can people connect with you and follow you, Jennifer?
Well, I have a Facebook page and it's called Jennifer Joy Johnson, right? Because it's my personal Facebook page, but I am it's public. I don't hide from life. I just go out and do whatever. I have a group of people. There's also I have a website and it's called jenniferjoyjohnson .com, right? I took it. I took the domain because I thought, why not? And so, you can follow me, you can get in touch with me there. I
Mhm.
have an Instagram, but I'm not easy to find. So it's Facebook's easiest one because
I'll
that's
link them. You sent me the links. I'll link them in the
I
show.
did, yeah, yeah, because that's something that, but I'm always willing to answer questions and work with people. And this my part of my 90-day thing is to try and figure out how to get organized enough to do some more things online for people, because I do always get out there and do lives because I tell it like it is. Like I don't walk out going like, so I went to Paris last week. It was grand. It was unbelievable. I go out there and go, I went to Paris last week. It was really incredible. They have great architecture and it was dirty. Right. You know what I mean? Like, or I didn't feel that good. You know what I mean? Or I've had a bad day today, even though I'm in Italy.
Here's, yeah, yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So like there's this, I just tell the truth. So I get on and go like, I'm in a slump or I'm not, or, because to me it's being real about yourself is the only way you're going to achieve what you really want to achieve. So getting in touch with me is, like I said, I think Facebook's probably easy, the website, and there's a couple other things I have like the Instagram and stuff like that. So you can get a hold of me there. And I call myself a guide because I don't need to coach people necessarily, but I can show people, I can talk through things, I can share things with people, and I do know how to get a person from a point A to a point Z if they're willing to do the work.
Mhm.
That's some of the stuff I can talk people through because I have been a career coach forever and now I'm a life person. Like, getting to financial independence. I mean, I can talk to people about how do you do that? What do you do? What are the things that come up? And, so there's a lot of things I have for knowledge. I just am not one who throws in there and like pinpoints it to like, only this. It's let me meet you where you are and let's see what we do.
I love that. What an amazing journey. And thank you for sharing it. And thank you for this conversation, Jennifer. It was
Thank you. It's really, like I said, it's really fun for me to talk about that stuff. I mean, people think I'm going to talk about like the trips I've been on and the stuff I've been doing, and really it all comes down to our soul and how we feel about life. So thank you for having me.
I love it. Thank you.